Hello everyone and welcome to South South News. I'm Afaf Kanja. We're very happy to welcome the President of the United Nations General Assembly, Mr. Joseph Deiss. President Deiss, welcome to South South News.
Pleasure to be with South South.
Thank you. Let's start from the basics. Everyone knows about the United Nations, everyone knows about the General Assembly, but not many people know exactly how it works. Tell us how resolutions get adopted, how those resolutions impact our lives, the lives of everyday people around the world, and the key differences maybe between the General Assembly and the Security Council.
First, we are 192 members, so it's very difficult to organize discussions among so many different delegations. Therefore, we have the resolutions. That means we have not the power to impose some decisions on the individual governments. They want to keep their sovereignty. But on the other hand, if all these governments can agree on a common text about things concerning developing countries or climate change or what else, then we have a certain guarantee that they will also behave on that way they have taken engagements. So General Assembly has to try to get consensus, which is much better than to vote on a resolution, and if you have 2/3 of the member in favor, what about those who are against? If all of them have to implement it on a voluntary basis. But the General Assembly has also important decisions to take where you have to vote. For example, we elect the members of the non-permanent members of the Security Council, or we elect the members of the Human Rights Council, or the President of the General Assembly. And the General Assembly is also in charge of the Charter. If the Charter has to be modified, we need an agreement by at least 2/3 of the General Assembly. Or every 2 years, the General Assembly has to decide about the budget of the whole organization, which is always a very, very hard task. The difference with the Security Council is that on the one hand, the Security Council is only 15 members and not 192. The Security Council is about security and peace. The Security Council can take real action measures which are compulsory for the member states, like sanctions against a country, but in very precise fields. And therefore, the Security Council has a more political and immediately action role. And the difference between the General Assembly is that you have 5 permanent members, United States, UK, France, China, and Russia, and they have a veto in the Security Council. That means they can oppose alone against possible decisions. So this makes that we have very different bodies which are in charge of complementary issues.
As the President of the General Assembly, you've stated your priorities for 2011. What are you focusing on now and why?
I have taken 3 clusters, which are not one single topic each time, but broader directions. The first one is development. Development with the MDG High Summit we had in September, but also the LDC Summit we'll have in Istanbul in May, or sustainable development in general we are discussing about. Second cluster is about green economy. We have all these environmental issues, not only climate change. We have the year of the forest this 2011, and we are trying to get the economic development more in shape, or not simply more in shape, totally in shape with the possibilities of our planet. And the third dimension is global governance. We have to find better ways in order to have common action against global challenges we have to face, be it climate change, be it terrorism, be it health issues like pandemics and so on. How are we going to bring together 192 countries which want to keep their sovereignty and at the same time have to find common action, because you cannot individually combat terrorism or the climate warning?
Sure. Let's talk for a moment about the Millennium Development Goals, the 8 anti-poverty goals to be reached hopefully by 2015. Is there the necessary engagement throughout the international community? Do you see enough political will to make this happen?
Certainly. I'm very impressed by the support we have got in September last year when we had the high-level meeting, 140 heads of state and government here to say not only we can, but we will, and we are going to do it. I'm convinced that we have the means to overcome not only 50% of poverty, but even total poverty. But the Millennium's goal are until 2015 to do it to reduce by half the people who are living under the level of poverty by 2015. And I think that we have not only the support, but we have also the potential to do it, and we have already very strong results. People are always talking about what's not working. It's true that in some regions, on some topics, countries are not up with the line they have chosen themselves to reach by 2015. But we are talking to less about everything already achieved by many countries. When you have the minister or the president of Malawi addressing the General Assembly and saying, in Malawi, every child goes to school, I think it's fantastic, and this should be told as much as if some countries in Africa have to say on child mortality or mother health, we are not totally on the line we want to achieve. And there we have, of course, now to work.
Yes. Well, so let's talk about then on least developed countries, because those are a very special case. And adding to it, you know, the increase in frequency and intensity of disasters. How can G20 members engage more with non-G20 members to help these least developed countries and, of course, for future green growth and sustainable development?
On the one hand, I would say that we have the question about the cooperation between the United Nations General Assembly, 192, and the G20. This is a global governance issue. How are we going to do this? And that's the reason why in September I have given, this is the duty, the first duty for the President of General Assembly is to give the theme for the high-level debate when all the heads of state are taking the floor. And I have given global governance as the topic. And then we asked ourselves in my team, what can we do concrete? Because talk is important, but it doesn't move things. And so we found out that the President can convene for informal plenary sessions, and I convened for a plenary session before Seoul, where we had the G20 summit, and after Seoul, where we had the summit behind us. And this was the opportunity for the 172 not present in the Seoul countries to address the issues that would be the summit of Seoul questions. And France, who is the presidency now, stepped in and said, we are ready to cooperate on this level. And this week we will have in New York the Minister of Agriculture of France addressing the General Assembly, preparing their summit of Cannes in autumn, where the topic of raw material prices, agricultural and food prices will be one of the central topics. So we have created this interaction between the plenary, the General Assembly, and the G20. G20, of course, are members of the plenary sessions, and they take the floor at that time as well.